Okay, so this is going to be the last. Sorry, no, it's the last I'm making. 2.2 is construct and model the skin and its layers. Okay, so on the test, there's going to be a box like this. There's sorry, two boxes. One, two boxes. And you're going to be asked to draw and label all the following structures and layers. And there's going to be a table that has these things in it: epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, papillary layer, reticular layer, adipocytes, arteries, and veins. And for the epidermis specifically, you're going to have to draw the basement membrane and stratum basal, spinosum, granulosum, corneum. Okay, how do you draw this? You don't need to make something completely complicated. On this picture, this side right here is good, right? It's not too complicated. You need this you start with the layers of the skin. We're gonna draw the epidermis as the smallest layer, right? A thinner layer up top, and you can draw it with the rounded, right? This right here. Then we're gonna have the dermis underneath that, so go far down. And then draw the hypodermis underneath that. You can start by drawing some adipocytes, the circles. So, in terms of how big they are, the epidermis is thin on top. You can draw it with the rounded bumps. The dermis is the biggest in between, just leave some space. Then draw the hypodermis at the very, The hypodermis is medium size, that makes it more clear. Hypodermis is going to be down beneath, it's going to be a little bigger. Okay. When you're drawing them, the epidermis you can draw with the bumps, right? For the dermis, there's the papillary layer up top, which if you watch 2.1, you know has more blood vessels. So you need to draw those blood vessels. So draw lots of those thin lines. And the reticular layer has lots of fibers. So you could draw the scratches for fibers in here. You could draw thin lines. They're not in this picture, but could sketch a few of them. There's so that you know there's fibers, and you could just label fibers. The hypodermis in the bottom, draw a bunch of the fat cells, right? And draw big tubes for arteries and veins. Then label epidermis, dermis, papillary layer up top, reticular layer, which is nice and big underneath, then the hypodermis. And that is that. Okay, later you're going to go back and add hair. You only need like one hair, right? And you only need one sebaceous gland and one sweat gland. You don't need to add that many. So it should look something like this when you're done. Just a sweat gland, hair follicle, sebaceous gland, and then you've got some arteries and veins, and that's it. So it should not be that intense of a sketch. Okay, so for the epidermis, because you're going to have another box that looks like this, and I want you to draw the epidermis, you can sketch cells, so draw circles, right? Starting at the bottom with the stratum basal, right up next to the basement membrane, so label that bottom line, the basement membrane, and draw circles. The cells are rounder here, so draw round cells, nice and round and circular, and then stratum spinosum above that, they're still round. This stratum basal is going to be one layer of cells thick. So you could draw a layer of circles and call that stratum basal, and then move up and draw a few more layers thick of the round cells. Call that spinosum. Then we get to granulosum, so draw the cells getting longer and thinner. Right? They look like sausages or something. Like they're longer and thinner, still a little fat though. And call that stratum granulosum, right? So draw those cells getting longer and thinner because the keratin is stretching them out. Then you can draw stratum corneum, you don't need to do lucidum, and draw the cells super thin and long and tons of them stacked on top of each other. And this should be your thickest layer, so you have thin cells and a lot of them stacked on top of one another all the way up to the top. So draw the cells of stratum corneum, long and thin, thickest layer, and there's going to be many layers of the long and thin keratinocytes. Stacked on top of one another. And stratum granulosum, draw the cells getting longer. They're still a little thick.
In stratum basal and spinosum, the cells are completely round. And stratum basal is only one layer of cells thick at the bottom. It's cells right up next to that basement membrane. Later, you're going to add melanocytes and Langerhans cells. So you could leave a space so you can add a melanocyte in here, just right up next to the basement membrane, extending its little arms off, right? Drawing melanin and melanosomes. And Langerhans cells, you could draw up in here, have with the little arms too. So leave some space so you don't have to erase and redraw. Okay, that is 2.2, construct a model of the skin and its layers. Good luck with that. I hope that helped you.